Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to welcome my good fiends of the Horror Heals podcast. Is horror good for mental wellness? But of course it is. I delight in the delicious deaths of pitiful people on the silver screen. So get ready for a hell of a good time with my new fiends, Corey and Kendall, on the Horror Heals podcast.
Hey, Horror Heliacs, it's Corey. Today's episode is pure spooky joy. We're hanging out with Gregory Van Abelard, horror fan, cosplayer, commentator, and all-around creative light in the dark. You might know him for his absolutely killer Angela from Nightly Demons cosplay, the one that's so good that Amelia Kincaid herself couldn't stop talking about it at conventions. Gregory grew up like a lot of us did, a horror-loving loner finding comfort in VHS covers, Friday night rentals, and screen queens who felt like real friends when the world felt quiet. Horror was his escape hatch, his therapy, and eventually his art form. Today he channels that love into cosplay, commentary tracks, and community, including his recent Night of the Demons 3 Blu-ray appearance. We also talk about Night of the Living Dead, the new Tom Savini director's cut, and why the Monroeville Mall is basically sacred ground. Keep your mitts off at Walmart. And you'll hear how horror for Gregory became a lifeline when things got hard. Because for so many of us, it's not just blood and monsters, it's belonging. Hi, Gregory. Welcome to the Horror Heals podcast.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. Before we get into the whole horror and healing stuff, I have to admit I was doing a little bit of stalking on your social media, and I love the photos, the Night of the Living Dead theme photo shoot that you did recent. I've never been to actually one of the Living Dead cons, but I've wanted to. Yeah, it looks like a blast.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. They're so fun to go to. It's interesting because I guess Walmart purchased them all. So
Right.
Who knows what's going to happen to it. So I've been encouraging anyone that's into the Living Dead movies or just, zombies in general, even some history in general, go check it out because it's a really remarkable landmark on top of the history of Dawn of the Dead and everything.
Or yeah,
And
I'm
the whole
very
town's
excited
in on it. They love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun to be a part of.
I'm excited that there's a director's cut of Tom Savini's remake coming out in September.
And
Yeah,
it's
that's
funny.
gonna be-
My dad took me to see that movie in the theater when it came out when I was really little, like too young to be seeing these, right?
Right.
But it left such an impression on me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it's such a great remake and great movie, so
It is.
I'm really excited to have it in like the best format possible and all the little Easter eggs thrown in,
Yeah. We're going to have at some point get this like custom frame because it's an unusual size, but I've got a Polish movie poster of the remake, and it's signed by George Romero, Tom Savini, Bill Moseley, a bunch of the original cats. So it's one of our treasures for sure.
That's so cool. It's funny too, because, it's hard when you make something that's so beloved and treasured. And this is kind of one of the few remakes that's almost just as loved, right?
Yeah,
There's not really
exactly.
a lot of bad feedback on it, which is great.
No.
Good. The proof is in the pudding. Tom Savini
Right.
did a great job.
Exactly. So, Gregory, what do you think of our theme of horror and being good for, the soul and for wellness and all that?
What's so cool is it's very unique, yet very spot on. And it needs to be jumped into because the horror community in general, a lot of them, myself, all of us, in some ways, we're like survivors of stuff. And I think one of the pinnacle points is with everybody, I think that we all have in common is horror was there for us when we really needed it at kind of our darkest time, which is so ironic because it's horror, but like it was there for us during our lowest of our lows. And it'll always be there for us. It's like an old friend. It's so comforting. And we all have stories, especially what's interesting too. A lot of what I've come to notice is it's also different types of films or this or that is so personal to people. So they're kind of attached to this movie or that actor or that actress. But what's so beautiful about it is, and what I think people are starting to realize that created these films and acted in them, they're like, wow, we didn't know at the time, maybe not to speak for everybody, but they're saving lives. You know what I mean? By the art of it all,
For
So
sure.
it's really fascinating to me. Absolutely. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys are jumping into this and kind of just exploring this topic, which is so important, and it's like therapy, horror and all that,
It is, yeah. It took us a little while because we're lifelong horror fans, and it took us a little while to come to that aha moment. But when it came to us, it's like, yep, that's it.
Oh, absolutely. And it does heal. It really does.
Yes, and we find that with not just fans, but the creators too. Like, they all have a story. There's something that's, that
Yeah,
horror has helped them. The community has helped them.
it totally has. And it's funny too, because even some of the actors, so some of them don't know till way later. They're like, wait a minute, I had no idea. I did this movie and I had no idea about the fan base and what it's done for people. But that makes me so happy when they finally do know. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and then they're kind of on board and you kind of just, it's a beautiful exchange of we both are getting something so beautiful out of this. Something you created and how it's affected me really is timeless. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting to see where horror is going because it's been taking off and going in wonderful directions. I think it's healing more now than ever,
So when did horror and cosplay come together for you?
That is a really good question. I think it started, well, horror in general started for me very young. I was really fortunate. My mom, who's awesome, she would let me rent anything I wanted. She trusted my judgment. I got to see some really cool horror movies in the theater when I was very young. All of that really did leave an impression on me because I was very much kind of a loner kid. But the funny part was I wasn't upset about being a loner. I was all about it because that's kind of all I knew. But the funny thing, what was there for me were horror movies, especially like, I guess, Scream Queens at the time. I think before even like I knew what that term was. So I'd have certain horror movies that I would connect with these characters and I really felt like I was hanging out with them. Like I felt like they were my friends and they were there for me when like no one else was. So I remember like Friday night, Saturday nights, my mom would be, doing her thing, but she'd always take me to rent. It'd be like 2 movies and a pizza. And I was the happiest person on the planet, and I'd watch them over and over. And then she'd take me to Suncoast and I'd go buy it if I loved it. It was a really wonderful, special time, which has left such an impression on me and it's going to be with me forever. And then that kind of leaked into the cosplay, like that kind of came a little bit later, but it all came full circle with all that, definitely.
What was your first cosplay experience?
Well, it was Angela from Night of the Demons.
Mm.
And that's a wonderful story on its own because I'm very, very good friends with Amelia Kincaid. And so that I would have never have dreamt when I was so young. I have like drawings of her that I did when I was very little. I still have them, that it would be something that would come to reality later, and all of the like adventures we've been on and, and I even got her back in the Angela costume at one point, and she still does it. It's just a beautiful, you know what it is? It's dream big because it could happen. You know what I mean? It really is.
Yeah.
Don't dream it, be it. That's one of the underlines of the cosplay and everything. And a lot of the cosplay characters I choose are characters that somehow really tapped into me, in one way or another. I could see myself in them. And so I try to channel them and it's fun. I love tapping into that side and just jumping in.
Yeah, that's amazing that was your first because and we didn't actually meet at this con. I just you were posing for photos with Amelia and Linnea, and it was like, oh wow, that is some great Angela.
Oh, thank you.
And I could hear her just totally telling anybody that was passing by how great you were and how much she appreciated all the detail and everything.
That's so cool. Yeah, because I first did Angela. I was in junior high and I did her for Halloween. I dressed as her. I believe it was her from part 3. And I just remember it really was a time where homophobia was very much there. And so you kind of had to learn and kind of like, you had to know where to navigate and what you can get away with, what you couldn't. So I remember on Halloween, you definitely knew who your friends were because the ones that were into it, you were so happy. But there was always one or two that had to like make a snide comment. But the funny part was, I didn't give a shit. It didn't stop me. I was so happy to be Angela. And I was so excited to be running around on Halloween and this dress and the makeup. It was so much fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. That was like the first time I did it. I was really proud of myself. I just remember telling my mom that's what I wanted to do. And it was just great. It was just, you're caught up in the moment and that's what you're going to do. I did it and I'm so happy I did it. And it's taken me on this journey ever since.
Yeah, it's wild. What was Amelia's reaction when she first saw you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this is funny. We both shared the same story. I had never been to a horror convention ever. Like they always seemed like something so far away. Like it was always in like, the back of Fangoria, you'd see these and they were always in different states. I didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? And then one day, I don't know how, but my partner told me, he goes, oh my God, there's a horror convention in LA. And one of the guests is Amelia Kincaid. And I was like, what? And I remember I pulled over because I was like, wait a minute. Let's pull up these dates. Like what is happening? Because at this point I was already cosplaying as Angela, like every year, like the West Hollywood Halloween parade, I was doing it, and so I was very much like Angela is all I do. You know what I mean? Like I was, all about it. So my chance to meet Amelia was there. And I remember we went to this convention. I was so nervous. I had to do like a shot in the car. But like I had like almost no experience, to meet these people in real life. It was just like a dream. I was like, this isn't happening, right? And then so I go in to meet her. And the funny part was she hadn't done conventions for a while. She was out of the country and doing all sorts of things. So this was kind of her first foray back in a long time. So I got to meet her and it was really, we just clicked. And I remember we exchanged emails almost right away. And I was showing her pictures. It was almost like we already knew each other in another life. It was just kind of instantaneous. Yeah, it was just boom. And so we were talking. And then we were talking about her animal charity work. And then we decided, let's put on an event ourselves, when she was going away, but she was like, when I come back, let's talk. And then I took her out to lunch and we started doing charity events in Hollywood and I would host it as Angela. It was cool. It was kind of just the adventure of it all started off very early and we've just been together ever since. And she's so amazing. I've learned so much from her. She's truly a caring, wonderful, just funny. She is the bee's knees, everybody. And the proof, it's funny, like everyone at conventions that comes to see her, that's her. You know what I mean? So it's so easy to get just sucked in with whatever she's talking about because she's so charismatic and so wonderful, so beautiful. I'm honored to be her friend. Let's just say that.
Do you remember what convention that was? Because I went to a couple and when we were living in California, kind of I lived in the Bay Area for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a Monster Palooza, I believe, where I saw you and Amelia.
Well, yeah. Okay, the one I met her at was called Days of the Dead.
Okay.
I don't think they do them in California anymore, but they did a long time ago. And that was a cool one, because it only had, I remember a lot of people, oh my gosh, like the girls from Evil Dead and Tommy Doyle from Halloween. Like they just had a lot of different people. And so that was my first experience into conventions. And it was cool. It was really, really cool. And then before I knew it, I was like, at Amelia's table, like working with her. And it was so fun because I had fun chatting with the fans too about Night of the Demons. Like it was so cool. Yeah, I love it. I love fellow horror fans, like I love chatting with them because I'm one of them. It's just this wonderful exchange of our love for this and their story too of survival, like because everyone has it, like it's right. Saved my life. It's for that reason. And so that's a part of it. It's like, finding these kindred spirits, under this genre, this very misunderstood genre that I now think is finally getting the huge tiara it deserves. Because back then it was almost like you did a porno. You know what I mean? Like which
Right.
wasn't
Yeah, there
true,
was
but still,
right. No, definitely there was a stigma there for sure. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So I guess it could be argued that Angela is the protagonist or is the villain. You could argue it either way. What was it about that character that drew you in?
That's a really good question. I think it really was somehow, and this is what Amelia says too, like somehow we knew each other in a past life. And I totally believe that because I can't explain why I was drawn to her. And the funny part was when I was really little, my cousin Angela, we were very
Oh,
close, very close. We were BFFs. And one day they came over and her mom had gotten something from the video store and they go, Gregory, this is for you. Cause obviously I was into horror and stuff. They go, look what we got for you. And they unrolled this poster from the video store. They were giving it away or something. And it was of Angela. It was Night of the Demons. And they go, look, it says Angela's having a party. Angela all over it. And they thought I'd be all about it. And I go, oh, that's okay. Like I was actually scared of the poster because it was terrifying for me. So that, what, if you ever have one regret in life, it was that. Because obviously later when I discovered it and I was all about it, I was like, I remember asking my aunt, I'm like, do you still have that poster that you tried? What poster? I was drawn to her rebellious spirit. She's beautiful. She's this goth princess. And the irony that in high school I was goth. So I was always channeling her. Just something about her that like kind of fuck you, I'm gonna do it my way. She was an outcast, so was I. And she was the champion for the underdog. And I was definitely the underdog. Our souls were just connecting. She was definitely always my inspiration with like the whole goth thing. So, and that's who I still channel. She is my number one diva. Absolutely. And I love her. And she could dance. I mean, come on. That's the understatement of all the centuries combined.
truth.
So, yeah.
Truth. Yes.
And Hull House, believe it or not. So many things in that film just drew me to it. The music, the party, all of it, right? And Hull House, it's such a beautiful house. It was in LA. It was old. It had all this history to it. So there were no sets. And sadly, they tore it down, which killed me because I didn't know it at the time, but I had so many chances I could have gone down and seen it before they tore it down. But the house is so cool. It's like my dream home. And I think we can all say we all love Halloween because especially growing up, Halloween was the time where you could be anything you want and you didn't have to worry about being judged. I still think that is the beautiful outlet for either young LGBTQ plus. Like that's always an outlet. Like that's like the creaking the door for some that like, oh, I could be whatever I want today and like no one could say shit or bother me. And it's kind of exploring who you really are, right? At least with me, definitely.
So, aside from Angela, do you have any other favorite cosplays that you've done?
Oh, yeah. It was okay because growing up alone, and I really tapped into these scream queens, like truly, like Grace Jones from Vamp or Stretch from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Like either you were like, quote unquote bad or good. There was so many elements of them that I was drawn to. And I feeling like I was a survivor, because I was alone and obviously, I had an abusive dad, so I didn't see him. So it was just a lot I was dealing with. And I saw the strength and completely identified with Laurie Strode and you name it, right? Or Judy from Night of the Demon, but one that I'm really proud of is Miss Renee Zellweger from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. I love that movie. That's another one that's one of my favorites because her character Jenny starts off as very meek and throughout the night she finds her inner strength and her voice and she survives, and that's one of the underlines with me, at least that's always tapped into me. I totally feel that way. She's one I'm really proud of. I'm proud of all of them. They're all fun, and it's cool to see what you can come up with when you really want to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you've done some other really cool stuff in the horror realm. Are there a couple of jewels in your crown that you'd like to mention?
Oh, yes. Well, I was really happy to be on the commentary for Night of the Demons 3. That's another one that I love that a lot of people hadn't seen. It just got a Blu-ray. So I was on there with Jimmy Kaufman, who directed it. He was so fun. He's so wild, and he was really fun to be around, completely creative soul. I was really honored to be a part of that, and just everything I've done. I'm always grateful, to be a part of anything. I'm so happy and grateful to be on here with you guys. Just
Oh,
anyone that's interested, like I'm so happy to be a part of it all. It's just happy to be here, right? And it's just a wonderful community, and it always gives me something to look forward to. It's just that getting you something to get out of bed and just be excited about. I'm excited for the Blu-ray of Night of the Living Dead. I just everything coming out. It just gives me something just so happy. And then that's what inspires me too, especially with cosplay or whatever I'm doing, right? It's just to be excited about things. I think it's that kind of childhood innocence that we tap into. A lot of people still are trying to find, and I always want to help people find that. Just finding those things that just really get you going. It doesn't always have to be this or that. Sometimes like the adult world, quote unquote, where that's all you got going and you're just so miserable. It's like we also have to find that happy place and really keep that very treasured and locked in, because it's keeps us young, right? Keeps
for
us
sure.
going.
Yeah. I love your positivity. That is really inspiring.
And well, what's funny too, we are living in a time where, at least in the scope of horror, like I'm so grateful. Like if the 14-year-old me, if you told me, oh, they're going to be still doing Halloweens and I know you did last summers and this and that, I would have had a heart attack. I would have fainted. It's so easy now to be like, oh, well, that was dumb and blah, blah. It's like, no, we should be really lucky that they're doing this for us. I think that's my take on it, so the fact that we're getting these reunion movies and this and that and conventions and just all of this, like I would never have dreamt this would have existed when I was younger, because it was such a hush hush thing. Like, you liked horror because, I had people in my family member that were like religious and they were like, oh, you and this horror movies and, like just stuff like that. They'd always make you feel like shit just for being your authentic self and being happy, like minding your own business, even because they're unhappy. You know what I mean? Like that's
Exactly
that. And even though I didn't quite know that then, I knew then not to let it ruin my good time, because I never let it ruin it. You know what I mean? I just wish back then I said something back, but that's okay, because I did it my own way just by doing it. So there you go.
The last question that we always ask on this podcast is, who's your favorite final person in a horror film?
Final. Wow.
Yeah.
I guess Angela wasn't final, but she does get the final in part 3. She has the final word in the whole. She says, "Happy Halloween." So it'll be Angela. Literally, I found that loophole right there. If it wasn't for Angela, I wouldn't be here. Truly, she kickstarted it all. So it's my love for her that really opened the floodgates to me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Great.
Well, Amelia has said that she will come on the podcast at some point. I know she's very, very busy, but definitely make sure I'll ping her and let her know about this episode for sure.
Oh, she'll love it. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you're going to have so much fun with her.
Yeah, I've met her a couple times and she's great. I love what she does for animals and stuff too.
Another thing that's so inspiring and just really makes you want to be being a better person. Absolutely. Right? She's fighting the good fight for sure.
Yeah. Well, Gregory, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I'm honored, and for the love of horror.
That was Gregory Van Abelaar, reminding us that horror doesn't just entertain, it heals. I love how he put it. Horror is the old friend that shows up when you need it most. From cosplaying Angela in junior high, despite homophobia, to later working conventions with Amelia herself, Gregory's story is proof that embracing who you are, makeup, fangs, and all of it, is its own kind of survival. And yeah, we're gonna claim it. Angela is the final girl of that franchise. She gets the last line and the crown. Gregory, thank you for sharing your warmth, your artistry, and your undead optimism with us. Amelia, we're keeping a chair ready for you too. If this episode hit home, tell the creator their work saved you. Rewatch that movie that got you through. Put on the costume that still feels like armor, because the horror community, it's not just a fandom, it's family. Thanks for listening. And when someone asks if horror is good for your mental wellness, you tell them, of course it is.